It's true. If I'm looking at it, if it is a layers that we put, the final layer of a plastic sheet was so waterproof that some of the earlier sheets become redundant. Maybe some of the sheets, if we remove a little bit porous, maybe agents can breathe better.
I think in the first place, Minister Paul is obviously looking at all of these issues. The answer is this. The pooling measure is not just related to the property. It is also related, pooling measures are also related to the overall financial system, which is what I was trying to explain. Because if people borrow a lot, and the banks are exposed, and for some reason something happens, that then impacts on the banks and the entire economy. And then all of us will have to pay more taxes to capitalize the banks in some way, even if we don't pay more taxes. I mean, basically the US government waived out a whole lot of banks, right, including Citibank. And so when the US government does it, it's people. So that, you got to remember the prudence factor. So whether we remove it or not also depends on the total exposure. And the total exposure today is not something that we have to worry about, but it is not low. The total exposure for Singaporean households in terms of how much they borrow is not a small amount. So that is something that we need to, MAS needs to look at carefully. Second, it's also, you see, the HDB prices, government's prices, that we have very aggressive dealt with BTO prices. So when PM said last year, $1,000 2-room flat, $2,000 3-room flat, $4,000 4-room flat. A 4-room flat in a suburban area, after you get all the subsidies, including the NS subsidy and so on, today you should be able to get it for $230, $240, or a bit less, depending on where you get it. And on $4,000, that is very, very comfortable if you, and it will be payable on CPF, husband and wife. That we can do. The part that is not controllable is the private sector, right? Because it's a developer price and what they charge. Looking at the price data, I looked at it before I came here. Right up to December last year, December 2013, the prices haven't really come down. In fact, year on year, I looked at it, it's the only chart I brought with me. From 2005 to 2013, except for 08 and 09, year on year, in all the three regions, both for landed and non-landed, it's been increasing. And if you take CCR in 2010, it was 14%, and landed was 30%, despite the measures. And if you take CCR in 2011, it was 4%. And in OCR it was 7.7%, landed was 10%. These are significant rises year on year. The first time we are seeing some impact is last year for CCR it went down by about 2%. And OCR still went up by 6.5%. So if you take 2005 to 2013, CCR nearly 80%, RCR 67%, OCR 100%. So, if you look at prices, I think for the first time last year, early this year, we are beginning to see a tapering off inflation. But of course, prices are one thing, volumes are another. And volumes, I know, have been substantially down. It's a all involved in it. I came from the perspective in the discussions from this perspective. that at the end, you talk about properties. You know, the government is a trustee. Trustee in the sense that I must do my best for you, but I must also do my best for every Singaporean. And if you look at a young man, right, somebody who has come out of university or polytechnic or IT, they want to go out, they've done well, now they want to buy a private property. I scratched my head. I said, okay, should we make sure that there is some advantage for a Singaporean buyer compared with a foreigner? And also a fresh buyer compared with somebody who already has a lot of money. So if you look at it from that perspective, you can see why the first property, there is no additional penalty. Second property, there is, and why there is a differential between the foreigner. It is also because we need to make sure our young people who are coming out, who have done well, who want to buy private property, feel that there is hope in this place.
Sure. For example, the ABS thing. Singaporeans for second property, they have to pay 7%, and the foreigners are actually paying 15%. And that result about 40% drop in terms of transaction. I think a lot of people are also very concerned whether will it actually devalue the assets.
The concern is existing.
I understand. You see, I think first we must probably, I hope we can agree on one thing. Government measures have certainly contributed, but I don't think they account for the entire 40%. That's the point I was trying to make just now.
Sure.
I think the reason why there is a drop in transactions is due to a variety of factors. One of which is that people feel that the prices, I'm told, and I was surprised, that prices in Tokyo are less than Singapore.
Yes.
And that Singaporeans today are going over to Tokyo to buy. So when I was told that, I said, there's something is wrong, because Tokyo is the center of a huge economy, and the third largest economy in the world. And how can a Tokyo property be cheaper than in Singapore? But it's because of the attractiveness and the international nature of property in Singapore, and Singaporean ability to buy is so high that the prices in Singapore now higher than in Tokyo. So I think there is also a sense among many potential buyers, and there are a huge number today who can still buy, despite all the measures. And it's really a sense of where the market is going to go. Why do they need to rush in? I'm not saying they're right or wrong. I don't believe that I can predict where the market is going to go. But I'm just trying to explain the psychology. I think people are holding back because they are concerned about a correction. Is there going to be one? Often we have seen everybody thinks there is going to be a correction. Instead of a correction, it goes up. And then people feel that they've lost the opportunity.